Hey everybody, it's JP321. We're back with another video, but before we get into that video, I just wanted to come by and remind y'all to leave a like, subscribe, share it. It helps my content get out. Other than that, enjoy the video. If y'all do enjoy the video, like I said, share, subscribe, like. Thanks for watching. Alright YouTube, we're back with another reacts video. I felt like I had to record at least a few. It's been a while since I've recorded on my reacts. But this is kind of a different angle, I guess. It's similar to the angle that I had before, but I'm not sitting in my chair just because I got this store right here. My chair's a little too big to fit into this area. I'd have to move my whole bed. Not doing that. But either way, I don't want to waste time and just talk about nothing. So I kind of want to get in the video. This one was starting off with SpongeBob trying to warn us about narcissism. Don't know what it's about. I really haven't watched too much of it. I watched like maybe 5 seconds of it. It looked like it was alright. That other video on the other side though is on my gaming channel if you want to go to it. JP321 Gaming. But you might see me going left and right and like looking back and forth, but that's because I have a mirror that is reflecting. That's kind of why I wanted to sit right here so I can look at the camera and then kind of like see the video on the reflection instead of actually having to turn and look at it like this and then y'all watch me like that. I can watch it like this.
William, or their whole kind, basically. But the older I get, the more I realize that narcissism comes in a lot of different shapes and flavors. It's not really as simple as just thinking you're better than them.
Because I have the heater on.
Has been quietly circling
this is Texas, and we're going through that little storm right now. So
characters act and the way some episodes
unfold. I'm just trying to get some videos in right now.
Across the show that you can actually learn from it, which is why I honestly think SpongeBob might have been trying to warn us about narcissism all along. Now, if we're talking about one specific episode that plays around fame, then I think As Seen on TV from season 3 is one of the most obvious answers. One day, Mr. Krabs decided he wanted to make a commercial for the Krusty Krab, because why not, right? It's normal to advertise your restaurant. But in true Krabs
still a crazy way to pick somebody out of the ground though. I don't know why he picked him out of the ground like that.
And it doesn't even air at normal hours. It's only SpongeBob and maybe Patrick that still wake up to watch burger ads at that time. SpongeBob himself only got like 2 little cameos in it, and they were just as...
See, but I never seen like I seen the episode where Patrick was up at that night. Why would SpongeBob be up at that night to watch a commercial about it?
Didn't even show his face.
I mean, that's not even a point about it. Yeah, that's
and yet, it's enough to give SpongeBob the confidence to think he's starting to get recognized all over Bikini Bottom. The next day, he sees any kind of conversation as fans approaching him. Whether it's Old Man Jenkins mistaking him for a cereal box, people reading
it's kind of funny because I feel like I would probably do something like that, so I'd probably
SpongeBob's
signature
because he
make like one video that gets like 1,000 views, and I'm like,
at the end of the day, SpongeBob is ready to ditch the fry cooking job to chase a career as an entertainer.
Well, thanks for the start. I'm out of here.
Which is insane, because SpongeBob is the guy who treats flipping patties.
I can't do it as well as he did. He actually did that pretty smoothly.
This as the next big step of his career. Fortunately for him and Krabs, reality catches up quickly. Because the crowds do form, but they're not demanding entertainment. They want the Krabby Patties. But SpongeBob tries to entertain them anyway. He tries singing badly, juggling some food. He tries everything. While the crowd is just waiting for one thing he's actually good at. And eventually, the episode forces him back behind the grill.
On the spot, yeah.
That's what we've been waiting for.
That's the punchline for the whole episode. And the quiet
they came to a restaurant.
Because even after all that, SpongeBob never fully realizes what happened.
How is this about narcissism?
Wow, I almost threw away my whole life over 2 silhouettes. He still thinks he's made it as an entertainer.
I'm so glad I gave up Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
This is where I want to pause for a second and try to understand what we just watched. Now, if you watched that episode as a kid, it definitely looked like SpongeBob just became delusional and mistook everything as some sort of fame. But watching it now, it's hard not to see this episode as a flag of narcissism in SpongeBob's character. Most people think narcissism is about someone who loves themselves too much, or always wants the spotlight. But a cleaner way to think about it is
like
a bigger self-image you're trying
I
to
could be a
protect
little bit
and keep
narcissistic.
fed. And the feeding part is exactly what makes this trait dangerous.
I
because
don't
once
think
your
I'm
brain
always right,
decides
but
you're
whenever I
becoming
am right,
somebody
I'm just
bigger,
like,
you
damn,
start doing what
ain't that
SpongeBob
something?
did. You start collecting proof to feed your ego. You start seeing normal interactions like confirmations. You start acting like your identity is being
I
judged
switched myself
every
up before
time.
I
Now
ever
here's the
knew,
important
because
line
I
I
said
want to make
earlier, I
clear.
felt
This
like I
episode
had
is
a
only a
similarity with
taste
how
of
SpongeBob thought
narcissism.
he was.
SpongeBob doesn't become a full-time narcissist after this.
Abuse.
He goes back to normal in the next episode. What the episode really shows is how fast someone's mindset can flip, even from almost nothing. Because as it turns out, narcissism as a trait usually isn't a one-time thing. It's more like a way someone lives, a way someone sees themselves, and a way that someone tries to feel valuable. Which is why, if we want to understand what narcissism actually looks like long-term, instead of looking at one specific episode, we should look at the two characters who represent those extremes better than anyone else in Bikini Bottom. Squilliam and Plankton. One version chases admiration by being flashy and demanding attention at every chance. Meanwhile, the other version chases
It's a little
it in
uncomfortable
quieter,
sitting on
more
this
sensitive
stool.
way while always holding a grudge.
I
think
kind of use the
Squilliam
stool just
fancies
to keep
him
the
as the
door open
best
like a door
example to
stopper, because I
explain
used to
the
have a door
concept
stopper
of
before. Now
grandiose
it's screwed up.
narcissism. Loud, confident, loves
So I
to
use
flex,
this as a door
attention
stopper,
seeking, sometimes charming, and sometimes unbearable. I mean, Squilliam is practically a checklist for all of that. And before someone comments, that's not really narcissism, that's just confidence. No, confidence still feels solid, even if nobody claps
Yeah, but
for
I think
it.
what
Meanwhile,
makes it
Squilliam's self-image
narcissistic is
isn't
whenever
really
you're
built to
confident to the
exist
point to where
quietly.
you're
He
arrogant,
always
then you
needs an
become
audience.
narcissistic. I think
From the
that's
first
how it
time we
needs to
see
go.
him over a phone call with Squidward and Band Geeks, it already tells you everything.
Sounds as though you've got a dying animal to attend to.
He rubs it in
What does he
Squidward's
sound
face
like
that
that?
Squidward is playing at the
Sounds like
cash
you have
register
a
now.
dying
Then he
animal
literally
to
says his
attend to.
band is
I can't
big
do it
and
correctly.
valuable. Then he
I
makes
know
the
voice
kill
acting.
shot by saying he's basically living Squidward's dreams. The key is that Squilliam isn't just proud of himself, he's also proud in comparison to Squidward. A grandiose narcissist needs a below counterpart to justify his above position. Other episodes like Squilliam Returns and Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful prove Squilliam really loves to rub every single one of his achievements in Squidward's face. He talks about taking his private yacht across his private lake to his
It's the
private
eyebrow that
airport, and then he
kills
has a
it for me,
statue
just
made
the
in his
unibrow.
name for cleaning all of Bikini Bottom in just 1 week. And the cherry on
I don't
top
know
is
why,
that he
but every
often
time I
does it
see
with a
it,
crowd,
it's
whether it's his
just,
rich society in the
throws it
back
off.
or
It
in
throws
front
me
of
off.
us viewers watching at home. He makes sure people see him winning over Squidward. But if you want the purest example of Squilliam using status to lift his ego, then look no further than House Fancy. When Squidward is just trying to watch a fancy home show, and Squilliam calls him during the program just to reveal he's the featured guest. He wants to make sure Squidward watches him in all of his glory.
Well, toodaloo, Squidward.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Then
about
the
that
whole show
episode.
was
Yeah,
basically
no,
about him
we would have had
bragging
to
about
start a
all
wolf
his
for that.
expensive furniture,
I think
his
I would have been
gilded
very upset
doorknob,
about
and the
that.
136-foot-long golden statue of his unibrow. But then
That's like
Squidward
50 Cent
accidentally
level
gets
of hating
crowned
right
House
there, man. I
Fancy
think
Prince
I'll
because
have
the
a
host
problem with that.
interprets the wreckage as post-primitive art. Squilliam just crumbles in tears. So if we're learning the grandiose flavor from Squilliam,
I mean,
we
not
see that his
against 50 Cent,
self-confidence
but
needs
against
people to justify him.
that
Squilliam
type of
only
action.
feels confident when people see him win over Squidward, which is really a contrast compared to the opposite side of the spectrum, Plankton. Now, this is why people get confused about narcissism.
See, and I
because
think there's
believing they're
supposed to be
better
an
than
ad
everyone
right
isn't
there,
always
but
followed by results
I got
like
YouTube
Squilliam.
Premium. I don't get
Sometimes
ads.
it only comes as a
I
thought
ain't
of,
got a job.
why am I the only one suffering? Why am I doing
just make
all
sure I
this
get
work
money
and
for it.
still losing? It's still self-centered, but without all its glory. There's always this self-entitlement way of thinking, no matter the situation. Psych-wise, this is the vulnerable kind of narcissism. Defensive, hypersensitive, easily threatened, and way more reactive to disrespect than the grandiose type. And Plankton
Yeah,
has been
I can
living
see
like
it,
that
yeah.
for decades.
I can see how
Exactly.
Plankton's
They've
pretty
all been
sensitive.
just attempts. And every single one a miserable failure.
That line from the New Leaf episode pretty much sums up his long rivalry with Krabs. But the episode that makes Plankton's vulnerable side almost impossible to deny is Plankton's regular. One day, Plankton finally gets nabbed
Oh,
as a
and he
regular
got the
customer
one, yeah,
and feels like it's the
regular
beginning of his
customer.
empire. And honestly, watching him get excited over one customer
But it was a
is
setup
kind of funny,
from,
but it's also just sad. Because it shows how
his
hard it
wife,
is for
Karen.
him to get anyone to genuinely
She's from
like
that.
his food. But But then, just as quickly, the episode pulls the rug out from under him. Karen reveals the truth that she had a deal to pay Nat to become a regular, just so Plankton would stop complaining. And Plankton's response is,
I don't know anymore.
stealing the Krabby Patty recipe was never the final goal for Plankton after all.
He
It was
just wanted to
only a
be happy
step
with
to get a
himself.
customer, then to have a business more successful than the Krusty Krab, thus proving
Okay,
he
well, I
was a
took
better
a whole different
businessman
meaning from
than
that,
Krabs.
okay.
Still, we have to give some credit to Plankton
yeah,
for
he
even
does want
being
to be
willing
better
to
than
try for that long.
Krabs.
That's the part that makes vulnerable narcissism tricky. It can look pathetic, but it can also fuel ridiculous persistence. Even outside the theme of stealing the Krabby Patty, you can see how much he hates being small in every sense of the word.
But it's becoming increasingly obvious. I can deny it no longer.
I'm
I am small.
Episodes like FUN or Walking Small really emphasize the
That's
fact
funny.
that Plankton always craves power and domination
It's
to
probably 'cause
validate
he's
his
short.
presence. Now, to be
He's small.
fair, in Plankton's case, lots of his insecurity does come from the fate of being a single-celled organism in the sea.
The Plankton family has always been pushed around and stepped on.
His family has been stepped on for the longest time, and so is Plankton, which unfortunately is how most fragile narcissism begins. It often comes from the family environment. Maybe your parents are too cold to you. Maybe they didn't appreciate you enough, or maybe it's simply because your whole race is so used to being belittled by others. In any case, most of the time, it's not pretty. However, we have to give credit where it's due, because I don't want to
there's a lot of them. If
oversimplify
you've
the
seen
whole
that
topic.
episode, you'll
Because
see that
if
there's
you
like
only look at
a
Squilliam
million
and
of them
Plankton
just
at their
standing out
worst,
there.
it's easy to walk away thinking, okay,
crazy.
so narcissism is just bad, end of story. But clearly, it also does something for them. Squilliam manages to build a successful career out of that grandiose narcissism. Whether you like him or not, he always expects to win, and people mostly agree with that. You don't become Squilliam Fancyson by being shy in the corner. And Plankton,
Yeah.
honestly, might be the most stubborn organism in Bikini Bottom. He fails for most of his life, and still shows up the next day with another plan, believing this is the one. That kind of sheer will isn't nothing. So yeah, in the right context, a bigger self-image can be useful to some extent. It can help you perform, take risks, stay persistent, or build a career. Even being kind of self-centered sometimes is, unfortunately, very human. The problem only starts when that self-image turns into a dependency, when winning becomes more important than reality, and justification becomes more important than other people. Which brings us to the last path of narcissism. This is where we cross the line from a simple personality trait into a disorder. This is the version people are actually afraid of. The one when that hunger becomes bigger than ego. And I'm going to say this in the simplest way
I mean, I
possible.
think that girl's
Narcissistic
power.
personality disorder is when protecting the self-image becomes more important than reality, and more important than people. When
So
someone
what, you're
can't
gonna
handle
do
being
dirty
less than the
stuff
other,
to
can't
keep that
handle
image
being
nice.
wrong, and
So
because
that's
of
basically
that,
like
they
how
start
most people
making
are on
everything
social
about
media
them.
nowadays.
Now, SpongeBob obviously isn't
Everybody
a
has
clinical
that fake
documentary.
image
The
of
show
themselves,
resets
but
every
then
11
they
minutes.
actually
Real life
like
doesn't. But it
aren't
can
like that
still
at
show
all.
you the
But
shape of it.
like
And a
in
good place
person,
to
they're willing
look
to
is
do
the
whatever they
episode
can to get
Culture
into
Shock.
that perfect
Now,
image.
you may be thinking
But
this is your
then once
one
they get into
shot
that
at the big
image,
time.
then they take that picture, and
Well,
then
it's
their life
not.
goes back to being like
Mine.
crappy.
Squidward pitched the idea of a talent show to Mr. Krabs. He said it's about appreciating culture and seeking talent like Pearl, but the only thing he's chasing is validation for himself. Everyone that performs before him only serves as an opener for the grand show of his dancing or whatever he does there. And when
Yeah,
the crowd
that-
doesn't
that-
appreciate
that was
that,
rough.
Squidward can't take the criticism and he just storms off saying the show is over.
Now, unique. That's what it was.
I mean,
Unique.
bombing on stage sucks for sure, but it's normal and should be manageable if you're confident enough.
I've seen
Go
people
home,
get famous
cringe,
for less,
you
though,
improve,
so
or continue. But the
in
ones
today's
with
time, I think he would have
NPD,
made
they
it,
just
but
won't
not
accept
at that
They
time.
do anything to force the world to acknowledge them again. It's just unhealthy. Yeah, this is why we can't talk about this topic through one episode. The lesson about narcissism can't show up all at once.
Yeah, we are not
As
doing
seen on
like
TV,
4
warns us
episodes.
about how a tiny taste of being
Oh, I
seen
think he means
could
like,
trigger narcissism. Squilliam
one
teaches
SpongeBob
us the
episode. I don't
grandiose
think he means
version.
one,
Plankton
like,
teaches
actual
the
video.
vulnerable version, and Culture Shock shows the boundary where narcissism is unhealthy and becomes a disorder.
I
So
don't know
yeah,
if y'all can hear my
SpongeBob
chihuahuas
really
fighting
did
outside, but
warn
I
us
can.
about narcissism. They gave us the whole lesson, how easy it is to become narcissistic, how confidence can turn useful and then quietly turn into a dependency, and once you put your self-worth above everything else, you're only chasing a mirror while justifying any means. It's not exactly a fun way to live. And if any of that felt a little too real, you're not alone. SpongeBob has this talent for slipping life lessons into your childhood and letting it sit there for years until you're old enough to finally recognize it. In my other video, I talked about the one episode that gave me that weird, uncomfortable feeling early on. The kind you can't explain as a kid, but you never forget. The SpongeBob episode that disturbed me as a kid. So if you want to see that story and why it still messes with me now, make sure you check.
But we're gonna have to go into the other videos. I probably should just click on those videos, right, and then just start the video from that area instead of and then like just pausing it and just staying on it instead of doing it this way. But oh well, this one's a good video to start off with again from our. Hey, if you're watching this, you made it to the end of the video, and thanks for watching. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe, share. It helps my content. And if you would like me to watch something that you would want to watch, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll go ahead and check it out later or something like that. Thank you for watching, and please leave a like or a comment or something, some interaction. Thank you again.